There is a lie most people believe, not because someone deliberately deceived them, but because no one warned them in time. The lie is simple, almost too simple to seem dangerous. As long as I have a job, I am safe. It sounds reasonable. It feels intuitive. It even feels responsible. But there is a massive difference between feeling safe and actually being safe. And that difference can cost you years of your life. Years spent building something on a foundation you never questioned. Years spent assuming that showing up was enough. Years spent trading your time for a sense of stability that was never guaranteed. Your employer is not your safety net. They are your client. And clients can leave. No warning, no explanation, just a calendar invite and a prepared statement. Think about what happens before a mass layoff. It doesn't begin with chaos. It doesn't begin with shouting. It begins with silence. Budgets are reviewed behind closed doors. Departments are optimized in spreadsheets you will never see. Roles are redefined in conversations that happen above you. Decisions are made in rooms you were never invited into. And by the time the announcement arrives, the decision was made weeks ago, maybe months ago. Maybe you felt it before. That unexpected calendar invite, that vague strategic shift email, that meeting where no one makes eye contact, that moment when you realize the conversation happening around you is actually about you. That's how instability looks in the modern world. Quiet. Not dramatic, not sudden. Quiet. The modern job market doesn't collapse loudly. It shifts quietly. And quiet shifts are the most dangerous ones, because you don't see them coming until they're already here. For decades, stability followed a simple formula. Get a degree, join a company, stay loyal, climb slowly, retire safely. That formula worked in an industrial economy where companies grew predictably, where careers were linear, where time equaled value, where the longer you stayed, the more you were worth. But that world doesn't exist anymore. It hasn't existed for a long time. And the biggest danger isn't that the world changed. The biggest danger is that most people are still operating by the old manual, still believing that loyalty buys security, still believing that decades of service are protection, still confusing employment with security. But those two things are completely different. Employment is temporary access to income. Security is resilience when that income stops. Employment is what you have when conditions are favorable. Security is what remains when they are not. You can have one without having the other. And if your entire life is built on the first, you are far more fragile than you think. The old system rewarded three things: consistency, obedience, longevity. Show up, do what's asked, stay for years. Don't make noise, don't ask too many questions, and you were protected. The new system rewards something else entirely: speed, relevance, adaptability. The ability to learn faster than the world changes. The ability to stay valuable when the market shifts. The ability to move before you are forced to. Companies today don't optimize for loyalty, they optimize for efficiency. When revenue slows, expenses shrink, and salaries are expenses. It doesn't matter how dedicated you are. It doesn't matter how many nights you stayed late. It doesn't matter how much of yourself you gave. What matters is how replaceable your function is. What matters is whether a system, a tool, or a cheaper hire can do what you do. Performance is no longer protection. Relevance is. And relevance expires faster than ever before. The skills that made you valuable 5 years ago may not be the skills that keep you employed 5 years from now. Loyalty is not a strategy, it's a hope, and hope is not a plan.
You probably feel it. Even when everything looks stable, even when the paycheck arrives on time, even when your title looks impressive on paper, there's a subtle tension in the background, a quiet unease that never fully goes away. Because somewhere deep down, you know, if the system shifts, your identity shifts with it. We built identity around occupation. I am what I do. I am my title. I am the company I work for. So when the job feels unstable, the identity feels unstable too. That's why high earners still feel insecure. That's why people with impressive careers still wake up anxious. That's why success on paper doesn't always feel like safety in practice. Money reduces stress, but it does not eliminate fragility. A high salary attached to a single employer is not wealth. It is a well-paid dependency, and dependency always carries risk. If your income depends on a single source, you don't have security. You have a single point of failure. One decision made above you, one restructuring, one economic shift, and everything you built around that one source becomes uncertain overnight. So what does real security look like now? It isn't a title. It isn't a promotion. It isn't a logo on your profile. It isn't the number of years at one place. Real security is internal. It moves with you. It cannot be restructured away. It cannot be eliminated in a meeting you weren't invited to. Security is how fast you can learn. Security is how transferable your skills are. Security is how many doors you could open if you were forced to. Security is the answer to one simple question. If everything you have right now disappeared tomorrow, how long before you rebuilt it? The safest professionals aren't the ones who stayed the longest. They're the ones who can move. They're the ones who built skills that travel. They're the ones who made themselves valuable across contexts, not just within one company, one team, one role. Optionality is modern insurance. Skill stacking is modern leverage. Flexibility is modern wealth. Stability today is rented. Adaptability is owned. And what you own cannot be taken from you. You don't need to quit your job tomorrow. That is not the point. But you do need to stop treating it like a permanent structure, because it isn't. No job is. Think of it as a stage that gives you income now and must give you skills for the next move later. That is the only question worth asking about any position you hold. What am I learning here? What am I building here? What does this make me capable of beyond this place? Every project should expand your capability. Every year should increase your optionality. Every role should leave you more valuable than when you entered it, not just to that employer, to the market. Because the professional who keeps learning is never truly unemployed. They are between positions, and between positions is very different from out of options. One is a transition, the other is a trap. The world changed, the rules changed, and most people are still playing by yesterday's instructions, still optimizing for loyalty in a system that no longer rewards it, still building their entire sense of security around something external, something they do not control. The real question isn't, will my job survive? That's outside your control. The real question is, if it disappeared tomorrow, how fast could I rebuild? Not how devastated would I be, not how long would I survive on savings, but how quickly could I move? How quickly could I create value somewhere else? How many options would I actually have? That answer is your real level of security, not your salary, not your title, not your tenure, your ability to move. And most people have never calculated it. Most people have never sat down and honestly asked themselves, what would I do if this ended tomorrow? Not the panic version of that question, the strategic version. Comment below, if your job disappeared tomorrow, how long would it take you to recover? If that question makes you uncomfortable, good. That's awareness, and awareness is where real security begins. Not in a title, not in a contract, not in a promise made by someone who may not be there next year. In you, in what you know, in what you can do, in how fast you can move when the ground shifts beneath you. That is the only security that has ever been real, and it has always been yours to build.